First things first, it's this big 6.9-inch display. It's huge. It's almost like holding a mini tablet. But what's amazing is that Apple has almost melted away the bezels. So you are getting a bigger screen, but you don't feel like you're holding a bigger phone than an iPhone 15 Pro Max. It's pretty insane. And this display gets ridiculously bright, up to 2000 nits of brightness. Yes, sure, it's very similar to what you got on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, but in my tests, this feels slightly brighter. So it's perfect for using in the great outdoors when it gets super sunny and you want to keep scrolling Instagram, and it ramps down to 1 nit. So when you are in those late night binge sessions, you're not going to disturb people around you. And of course, it also gets ProMotion, so it's buttery smooth. It's a great display, amongst the best in the business. Apple has even improved the durability of this screen. Ceramic shield is now up to 50% stronger, so it's going to be way more scratch resistant and it's going to be less susceptible to drops. And also, this titanium frame on the iPhone 16 Pro Max is stronger than the iPhone 15 Pro Max and also other phones that use titanium. So durability has been sorted, and of course it is also IP68 water and dust resistant. So it's really built like a tank. The iPhone is the world's most popular camera. So the camera is always a huge talking point, and you get an all-new camera system. So the main primary camera, yes, the resolution is the same. It's a 48 megapixel sensor. The sensor size is also the same, but it is an all-new sensor which is way faster. So now you can shoot these high resolution 24 megapixel, 48 megapixel photos with zero shutter lag. And the ultra wide camera now gets a brand new 48 megapixel sensor as well, up from 12 megapixels. So those ultra wide landscape shots are going to be way more detailed. And of course, the telephoto lens still gets 5x optical zoom, tetra prism technology being used out here, but it's also there on the smaller iPhone 16 Pro. And using the new ISP, it also takes much better photos. Then you have got this new party piece on the iPhone 16 Pro Max. In fact, it's across all the new iPhone 16 models. Apple calls it camera control. Well, it is a button, but kind of is a hybrid of a button and a mini trackpad, and it allows you to control depth, zoom, all kinds of functionality of the camera without actually touching the screen. It's really cool, especially once you get the hang of it, but it works best in landscape mode. It's not really ideal for taking those Instagram portrait shots. So what about the image quality of these new cameras? Well, it's exceptionally good. You get great photos in low light situations. In fact, the night mode works faster because of this faster main sensor, and the ultra wide camera now obviously has a higher resolution, so it takes sharper photos and is of course more usable in low light situations. And even in daytime, you do see some richer photos, better HDR, and overall the iPhone camera has always been a really good, reliable camera. Now this gets even better and easier to use, but if you're a pro, you can get way more granular control without really diving deep into the settings thanks to camera control. The iPhone has always been the king of video, and the king gets even more powerful this year because of this main 48 megapixel sensor, which is faster. Now it can do 4K video at 120 frames per second and also do really crazy cinematic slow motion video, which is really beautiful and unlike anything that you would have seen on any other smartphone. It is insane. You can actually shoot short films using this phone. In fact, I could have shot this entire video with this phone's camera and it would have probably come out better than the camera I'm using right now. That's how good this phone is for video. But with video, audio is also a huge element. And usually we guys are using these kind of mics to shoot such videos, but on these new iPhones, particularly the Pro models, Apple has added studio quality microphones which sound really good, coupled with a brand new feature called Audio Mix, which basically allows you to have different kinds of audio profiles. It's like a mixing board inside your phone tuned by a sound engineer. So you can make the audio sound like it's coming from a studio, from within the frame. Could be cinematic, so all the audio is up front, or it could be a standard audio situation that you usually get from an iPhone. But even that is going to be better because Apple is doing a lot of wind noise reduction by default, which is really cool. You can turn it off also from the settings. Now the devil is always been in the details, and these iPhones may look similar to the previous models, but again, another thing that has been upgraded and Apple really didn't talk much about it are the speakers. They sound really lush, really clean, and they get super loud. So loud that they would rival many Windows notebooks, but none of this would matter if the iPhone didn't have a lot of power on tap. Enter the A18 Pro chip. It gets a 6-core GPU, 6-core CPU, and a brand new neural engine that does 38 trillion operations per second. How fast is this? Well, you're talking about firepower somewhere middle an M1 Mac and an M2 Mac. That's ridiculous amounts of firepower. So whether you're playing games like Assassin's Creed Mirage or editing those 4K videos that you have shot from this phone, can do it all, or just generally multitasking, it will do it in a very serene way, cool and calm like a cucumber. Why? Because there's a brand new heat management system also, so this phone really doesn't overheat at all. It's brilliant. I even noticed while wireless charging, this phone did not warm up as the iPhone 15 Pro Max. So Apple has really done something internally that makes heat management really a priority, and it has absolutely squashed it. Of course, I have not tested this phone during summertime, but still I know enough to tell you that this phone handles these tasks much better than the iPhone 15 Pro Max, which in itself wasn't any spring chicken. Speaking of video editing, the iPhone is an absolute master at editing video. So you can edit those 4K videos at 120 frames per second without breaking a sweat on this phone. And if you compare it with any other Android phone, it's not even a competition. The iPhone will do it very smoothly. The scrubbing would be smooth, and it would render the videos very quickly. It would be almost like using a Mac. But instead, on Android phones are going to take their sweet time. And I'm comparing here the latest Galaxy S24 Ultra, not even including the Pixel 9 Pro, which is powered by Google's really anemic Tensor G4 chipset. So the A18 Pro absolutely slays the Android competition. And we are talking about real world performance, not benchmarks. Theoretical things are not in play. The iPhone actually pulls it off. And that's why I've got faith that the A18 Pro is going to be a great chip for running on-device intelligence, Apple Intelligence, which is going to come in next month. Now, obviously, Apple Intelligence is not part of iOS 18, but it will start rolling out with iOS 18.1, and for a couple of months in a staggered way, Apple will roll out all the features, with eventually you getting Siri, the revamped Siri, running generative AI on it. Now, this phone will be able to handle all those tasks without breaking a sweat. Of course, Apple has also upgraded the RAM. Now it gets 8 GB of RAM, which is similar to iPhone 15 Pro Max. But on Android phones, you need way more RAM as well. And Android manufacturers will talk about that they have higher benchmark scores and they've got more memory and all of those things. But the iPhone is a much more efficient system, and Apple actually delivers on their promise. Even though this phone is not running Apple Intelligence, it will be totally primed for processing those tasks on device. Now, if you look at the Galaxy S24 Ultra running Galaxy AI, or even the Pixel 9 Pro running all those Gemini things, or like Magic Eraser, Magic Editor and all that stuff, a lot of the stuff is actually happening inside the cloud. On the iPhone, most of the stuff is being promised will happen on device. That's a huge thing, huge difference if you are a stickler for privacy. The phone has become larger, the screen has become a wee bit larger, the processor is faster and more powerful. So of course, Apple found some wiggle room to increase the size of the battery. Now, they haven't really told us how big the battery is, but this phone runs and runs. It's like the Road Runner. Yeah, you're talking about 2-day battery life if you're not going to be using this phone in a very hectic way, the way I use it. But even for me, a person who has a MagSafe wireless charger always on him, well, I can get through a day easily without having my power bank on me. In fact, I would have around 15-20% battery life even if I didn't charge this phone overnight. And that is insane. And yes, the charging speeds are slightly faster. More importantly, the MagSafe charging is now up to 25 watts. So it's very similar to wired charging. So you are encouraged to use more wireless charging with this phone. So should you upgrade to the iPhone 16 Pro Max? Of course, if you're coming from any other phone than the iPhone 15 Pro Max, then you can consider upgrading to the iPhone 16 Pro Max. Of course, it is not cheap. You're going to be paying upwards of 1,40,000 rupees. But if you want the best, then this is indeed the best. It is the best video camera you can imagine. It is a very, very reliable still camera. It packs in ridiculous performance. It's got a gorgeous screen. It's built like a tank. And it has got battery life that just does not let you down. And of course, it is fully primed for generative AI. Another thing, these phones are now made in India and they are actually slightly cheaper than last year. So what's not to like?